Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Mike Gastin, and I'm here today to talk about how to stay productive in the midst of chaos and distraction. Now, if you're watching this around the time that I put the video out, I probably don't need to go through a whole preamble as to why this is important. Why is it important to be productive in the midst of chaos and distraction? We're just in the midst of a little bit of turbulence right now, ladies and gentlemen. Please sit down, put your tray tables in the upright position, make sure your seatbelts are fastened, and observe the no smoking signs. Yeah, it's a little crazy right now, but we're going to get through this patch. But here's the thing. You and I don't have time to wait for everything to settle down so that we can get back to the things that we think are important. We don't have time to wait to build our businesses. We don't have time to wait to launch our products. We don't have time to wait to innovate and come up with new ways that we can stay competitively advantaged. We have to continue to produce, to create, and to drive, and to grow, and to build. And that is not necessarily a selfish thing. Society needs that. Society needs people who can build and create and grow. It's where opportunities are created. It's where wealth is created. So today I want to talk a little bit about how can you do that? How can you get past the chaos and the distraction and stay focused and be productive? So let's jump into it. I've got 3 things I want to share with you today. 3 key things that if you can internalize, if you can grasp these things and internalize them, then my friends, goodness gracious, I don't know, nothing can stand in your way. The world awaits you. It is your oyster. All right, let's begin. Enough the poetics. So the first concept I want to share with you of the 3 is that you have to exercise your will. You have to activate and exercise your will. Now you're like, Mike, okay, that's I guess important. Here's the thing. You and I are living in a world where other people are trying to assert their will over our will. There are movements and belief systems and ideology and voices and broadcast networks and giant corporations and political entities and social movements and groups, etc., that are all trying to influence your will. They want to exercise their will over your will. Now, not everybody is not nefarious. Not everybody's out there to try to get you, to manipulate you, to control you. But the fact of the matter is, there are many, many entities in this world that want to exercise their wills over our wills. And we have to be willing to exercise our own will. In times of chaos, in times of turbulence, in times of social unrest, there will be people telling you that you have to get on board with this movement or you're a bad person. You have to get on board with these positions or you're selfish. And I reject that. I categorically reject that, and you should too. Now, that's not to say that our sympathies don't lie with people struggling to better the world. It's not to say that our sympathies don't lie with certain political parties or institutions like churches and synagogues, mosques, educational systems. It's not to say that we don't have sympathies that lie with them, and we have the opportunity to exercise our will and say, yeah, I actually want to get involved. That's fine. My argument here is not saying don't get caught up in these things. My argument is that we should be choosing exactly what we're doing. We should be exercising our own will. And in times of chaos, times of turbulence, we have to be extra cautious, extra thoughtful to not allow other people, other entities, other movements to insist upon what we choose to say, do, or think. We have to live life on our own terms. And to do that, we've got to be willing to exercise our will, even in the face of criticism, even in the face of peer pressure, even in the face of all kinds of noise, mass media, et cetera, just saying otherwise. And that's what sets someone apart. You see, the folks that are willing to sublimate their will, to subjugate their will to those of others are the ones that don't do anything unique. They don't create anything. They become part of the mob. They become part of the demos that makes up democracy. That's the mob rules. And democracy is the majority, sweeps along the whole group saying this is what we want, and everyone will conform. Now, this isn't meant to be a social or political statement, but the point is, if you want to do something special, if you want to create something, if you want to build something, you can't wait for the opportune time. When's the opportune time to have a child? There's never a good time to have a child, but I guarantee you, bringing a child into this world, if you're blessed to be able to do that, you have the opportunity to do that, it's one of the greatest things that you can ever do in life, honestly. And yet, it's never a good time. They're expensive. They suck up all your time and resources. The life all of a sudden becomes all about them and so much less about you. And you're obligated now to this little entity that has found its way into your life for decades. So it's never a good time to have a child, but it's one of the most amazing things you can do. And that's the same thing if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to launch a product, if you're trying to create innovation or change things on a certain level, if you're trying to build a platform and become someone, transform the work you do and the things that you're committed to and who you are into something different, special, unique, etc. It's never a good time. You can't wait for social peace. You can't wait for economic perfection. We live in chaotic, turbulent times, and that probably is going to be the case for many years to come. These times of peace and tranquility and abundance in mankind's history are rare. They're not the norm, they're the exception. And we've had the benefit and the blessing to be a part of some of those times. But that's probably not necessarily something we can count on going forward all the time. So my point is, do not sublimate, do not subjugate your will to someone else's. You've got to be willing, in the midst of all this stuff, to enact, to engage, to push your will forward and to do what you want to do, even if it means going against the flow, against the crowd, against the stream. Now that brings me to my second point. And the second point is, to be able to do that, you got to have a purpose. Now, people talk about, you've got to find your passion. Find your passion. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I want to call BS on that right now. That is like so deceptive and so dishonest. And here's why. If you think of purpose versus passion, passion is an internal thing. It's what you feel. It's what I'm trying to find this thing that I love. And if I could just find the thing that I love, I could really do some great work. And I'm still trying to figure out what company to launch. If I could just figure out the thing that's, really awesome that I really care about, well, then I could do it. Then I could really make it happen. Here's the thing, folks. That just is so fickle. What we feel today is not necessarily what we're going to feel tomorrow. Take a photo, look at a photo of you 10 years ago and look at the things you were into. Look at the clothing that you loved. Look at the hairstyle that you love. Look at the makeup, if you're a female, what you love to wear. It changes. Our passions, the things that we care about, change over time. We're fickle, and it comes from inside us. And that's a really shallow pool, quite frankly. All of us are a shallow pool when it comes to things like passion. But purpose, on the other hand, purpose comes from outside of us. Purpose is why, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? What are the values behind what we're doing? And the great thing about purpose, which passion does not have, passion's like hot or cold. You're either engulfed in the flames of passion or you just don't have it. It's on or off. Purpose can work on so many levels. You can have a purpose for your life. That's huge. You find the purpose for your life, that's huge. You could have a purpose for a relationship that you have. You could have a purpose for a year. You could have a purpose for a certain role that you fulfill. You could have a purpose for the day. You can get up and say, my purpose today is to solve, fill in the blank, whatever problem is in front of me. That could be your purpose. And I think being willing to enact your will and to have a purpose behind it. It doesn't have to be a lifelong purpose. It doesn't have to be, I found the meaning to life. I climbed the mountain. I talked to the wise man at the top, and I found the meaning of life, and now I've got my purpose. You don't have to have that in order to enact your will in a way that's meaningful. And that's the great thing about this approach. You got to be willing to enact your will, enforce your will, and you have to be willing to find and embrace a purpose. Forget passion. Passion is greasy kid stuff. Passion is what they talk about at the high school and college graduation speeches, and it's a bunch of malarkey. They've got to find, especially when it comes to college, they got to find a reason to justify the 6 figures that mommy and daddy just spent so that little Jimmy could get a degree in printmaking, So you got to find your passion. What do you care about? Because they just spent the last 4 years screwing around with things that they thought were interesting. And, 15 years down the road will be a big fat goose egg. I'm not bitter. I have no opinions on these matters. I'm just trying to state facts. Lastly, so if we're going to say that you've got to be willing to enact your will, and secondly, you've got to be driven by a purpose, whether that's a life purpose or even a purpose for the week, but you've got to be purpose driven. The last thing is your diet. You got to watch your diet. And I'm not talking about your physical diet, although that helps. I am talking about your content consumption, your media consumption. What is it that you are taking into who you are? What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you thinking about? What are you engaging with? You see, the thing is, if you think analogously about an elite athlete, this is someone who wants to do something special. They want to get a world record. They want to be on the global stage and show the world that they are the best amongst all the human beings that have gone before and wherever will be. I'm the fastest, strongest, whatever, most adroit player that there has ever been. These people are very careful about what they eat. Why is that? Well, they know that what they put in them affects their performance. And it's true for people that want to accomplish things like building a business or innovating products. The same thing is true. Here's the thing. There's a couple levels that this plays out. Now, one is what we consume really colors our view of the world. If you're sitting on social media all the time, I guarantee you're going to have anxiety issues. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to think about the world in terms that it's just terrible. It's a mess. You spent the same amount of time while hiking in the woods, you would have a completely different view of the world you live in right now. Now you can say, oh yeah, but hiking in the woods, that has no bearing on reality. It's probably more real than social media, quite frankly. But what we consume colors how we view the world. So my first piece of advice around consumption is be very, very careful around what you consume. Be purposeful. Of course, consume videos like these that build you up, that give you insight. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like. You know how it goes. You know the drill, kids. But in all seriousness, what you consume colors your view of the world. And I guarantee you that view is not very accurate. If you're watching CNN all the time or Fox News all the time, or all you read is the Wall Street Journal, or you're on social media all the time, you're in the feed, reading, arguing, liking, tweeting, etc. Your view of the world is going to be colored, and it's not going to be to your advantage. It's not going to be to the place to put you in a place where you can actually do something important. I guarantee you, again, it's going to drag you down to that common denominator. You're going to be in there with the masses, elbowing and swirling about like some pigsty, and you're just wrestling it out for the scraps. Don't go there. Now, the second thing about your consumption is go back to your purpose. If you know what your purpose is, consume things that equip you and enable you and enrich you to fulfill that purpose. I go back to my elite athlete example. It's analogous. They're consuming things that help them do what they want to do. They're very specific about the amount of calories, the complexion, am I getting enough fat, carbs, etc. And even when I take that stuff in, when I don't take it in, think about what is my purpose. When you want to build a company, you should be consuming things that help you do that. I don't mean just watching lots of videos about getting organized and how to build a business, because at some point you have to act. It goes back to enforcing your will, using your will. And just, you can get in these loops where you just consume all the time about a topic you're interested in. Let's say you're into innovation. You want to be really innovative. Well, you can sit and read Medium articles and watch YouTube videos ad nauseum about innovation processes, innovation success stories, et cetera. But then you could never even do it. You just never get to it because you're getting such a nice little dopamine hit from that content that you're never actually doing it. So again, you've got to exercise your will. You've got to bring your will to bear. So starting from the top, exercise your will. Your will, no one else's will. Exercise your will. What is it that you want to create and build? Secondly, you've got to be purpose-driven. Don't look for passion. Don't look for all that stuff. Passion comes and goes. Passion is a feeling. Passion is something that's within you. Find something outside of yourself that you can commit yourself to. It doesn't have to be lifelong. Find a purpose and then put your shoulder into it. And then lastly, be very careful and thoughtful about what you consume. Watch your diet. Don't consume media that the sheep are consuming. Don't go down that pathway that everybody else is going. The fact is, if you want to build something special, you've got to be willing to be different. And being different is hard. And being different can be painful. But I guarantee you one thing, if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to discipline yourself, exercise your will, find a purpose, and watch what you eat, watch what you consume, you will find yourself down that pathway, a transformed person whose life has meaning, whose life has weight to it, a person with capabilities and competencies. You will have some losses, but you will also have some successes. You will have equity, something to show for the life that you've been living. And I think you'll find a level of fulfillment that most people struggle to find. You won't have to go to the doctor to get medicated to deal with the anxiety that's inside you. You won't have to wrestle with the dark demons that a lot of people deal with because they haven't found a purpose and they haven't been able to exercise their will. They're not even aware that their will's been stripped from them. And they're just consuming stuff that's destructive and doesn't leave them fulfilled and satisfied. So guys, my desire for you is that you live a life that is on your own terms and that you are able to meet and realize your potential, and that you can create wealth and be a blessing to those around you in the process. And you know what? I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.